We want to welcome everyone today to our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class with the Prabhupada Disciples Association. Our mission with the presentation of these classes is to establish the presence of Śrīla Prabhupāda in the lives of all its members, that Prabhupada lives on in sound in his Vani incarnation. As you know, all of you, you're very serious devotees of the Sankirtan movement. And Prabhupada was present recently in his Vapu form, this form of the pure devotee is a very, how can I say, auspicious opportunity for some, and was an auspicious opportunity for many of us to get his personal association. And we shouldn't minimize that. Vapu, the physical form, the opportunity to contact such an elevated soul as Śrīla Prabhupada was a great blessing for many of us. And some people, they've taken advantage of that association and to promote themselves as some kind of special, devotee. Actually, I have to say this, I had a chance to get quite a bit of association with Śrīla Prabhupada relative to the amount of association that he had with his spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda. Because Prabhupada had a formula for us when he was personally present to come to Mayapur, India every year and get his association. It was amazing. 73, 74, 75, 76, 77. So going to Mayapur, very exciting for all of us. I mean, consider we're from the West here. I'm from a steel town in Canada called Hamilton. And all of a sudden, I'm transported by the mercy of the pure devotee to Sridham Mayapur. And having the opportunity to actually see the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya and to be in association with Śrīla Prabhupada and hear him speak every day at the festivals. When we went to India, the main function was to get the association of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. It wasn't a tourist trip. Oh, we'll go to India, we'll go on the boats on the Ganges River, we'll go to the Jamuna, we'll go see Govardhan Hill, we'll go bathe in Radhakunda. Oh yes, these were good things, but the real ecstasy was to be able to attend the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class every morning that Śrīla Prabhupada was delivering to all of us. And this was a great blessing and a great fortune for some of us. Now, how astute were we when Prabhupada was personally present with us? I'm going to say, in all honesty, a lot of times it was very difficult because of the schedule. In the case of traveling, jet lag. And for the first couple of years that I was in India, I got, like many of us, I think some of you who are in this group that were there, in 1973, everybody got extremely sick with all kinds of digestive disorders. So we would drag ourselves to class, like physically. It was extremely austere. In Mayapur, there was a wall. I believe that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and his colleague at the time had contributed the money to build this wall, because there was only one main building that they had constructed. Actually, we were there while they were still constructing the building, that one building. And there was, the first year, we were allowed to stay in the building, even though it wasn't complete. Everyone got very, very ill. It was like a lot of people extremely sick. So my point is, it was difficult to stay attentive. It was very, very difficult and austere. So despite the fact of being in association with Prabhupada and getting his darshan, it was difficult to listen. You know, a lot of people would fall asleep in the class. Can you imagine? We're at these classes given by the pure devotee. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to us, and you fall asleep. So you'd be pinching yourself. Now you're pinching your leg, or you're forcing yourself to stay awake. Though how attentive are you, Vinkat, when you're at a class where you're trying to keep your eyes open? Because you're so tired, you're so sick, it's so difficult. So a lot of this association with the pure devotee, it was Krishna's mercy on us and Krishna's blessing on us. But were we able to fully appreciate what was happening? I look at all these pictures that are coming up, you know, of myself with Prabhupada. There's quite a few pictures that I was fortunate enough to be in. How did I really appreciate the presence of the pure devotee then? Well, it was difficult. In all fairness, it was very difficult. And to really appreciate what was happening. So this Vapu association, although it's a great blessing, the Vani incarnation of our spiritual master is something that we're able to take advantage of in the year 2023 with much more attention and focus. This is the point that I'm making for us, that Prabhupada lives in his sound. And even if you were, say you were attending a class back in 1974 in Vrindavan, you probably can't remember it, but you can go now to the library or the archives, and you can hear the class again, and it becomes ever fresh. And you can, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has these books. I have a few of them. I have these Bhagavatam books the written script from the class, you can go read those and get it really absorbed in the class. So this Vani incarnation that we speak about is real. It is very real, and it is for all of us, the new aspiring Prabhupada disciples or new Prabhupada disciples who have taken initiation. You have a great, we together as a group have a great opportunity to take advantage of this technology and be able to understand in depth what Prabhupada is trying to explain to us in terms of Krishna consciousness. Now, I had a conversation with a devotee from Toronto. She's been a devotee in the since the 70s with us. I won't mention her name. She's living in Mayapur right now. And this was yesterday. Was chatting with her, and I invited her to come to our classes. And I invited her to become a member of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. And what was her reaction? Oh, this is blasphemy. Very interesting. So you've got a person that's been a devotee for 45 years, and you tell her that we're presenting Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation, we're reading from unadulterated books, and her response to us is, that's blasphemy. I said to her, oh, be careful what you're saying to senior devotees. Whether it's senior or junior, however you want to perceive it. I was explaining it to her personally because, I was the president of the Toronto Temple. She was a lady in the temple, working in the Pujari department. That's not a pejorative statement. She was doing that duty. It was fine. Everybody's service is important. But she wasn't giving the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam classes. She wasn't organizing the book distribution. She wasn't managing the schedule. She wasn't looking after the budget. She wasn't searching for a new building for us to move our deities. She was a devotee. Good. Okay, fine. And then she turns around. Oh, that's blasphemy. Oh, you're blasphemous. This is the reality of what's going on here, is that people are very much confused right now. Very much. And the reason it is because they're not accepting Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation. There's a lot of confusion. And so that's our job. Our job is to explain to others that Prabhupada is living in sound. This is not just quoting verses, but this is practicing Krishna consciousness every day, taking advantage of Prabhupada's presence, and then being able to explain it to others. After all, we are preparing for death. This is not just stories like in the Bible, moral stories. No, this is a process where we're focusing on Krishna consciousness with the intention of preparing ourselves that when we leave this world, which could be at any moment or in the near future, we will be blessed by Lord Chaitanya and by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda because of our focus on the process of Bhakti Yoga, which begins with Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. So we have a big challenge, everyone. This is a war of words. It's a very unfortunate situation that has taken place. And there is a lot of offenses that have been committed in the society against our spiritual master. Because a lot of people do not chant their rounds, so-called leaders. A lot of them do not read the books. They don't sell the books. They sell their own books. And most of the people that are coming, that are new people, are completely being misled by them in terms of what is the reality of disciplic succession. This Krishna consciousness movement is scientific. It's a science of self-realization. And we should be proud as a group to be able to go out and explain this to other people intelligently. The science of Krishna consciousness. And I can say this, that all of us in this group are on the same page. Prabhupada uses the example, and I'll finish up here, that you can have one stick of bamboo, and that one stick of bamboo, Vinkat, as you know, in India, you get the bamboo there, it can easily be snapped, boom. But when you gather a bunch of bamboo together and you tie it together and you slap someone with it, it'll knock them out. That's what happens. It's a weapon. So like that, unity in purpose, our unity, our belief in what we're doing, our desire to work together, our common bond of understanding that Prabhupada is present in his Vani incarnation. Prabhupada is present in his books that are not being adulterated or changed by others. Our common focus on the process of devotional service will make this group stronger. And this, by this strength, we can do amazing things. So everyone be excited. Be excited that you're part of this opportunity to get proper sadhu sangha, proper association, proper understanding of the philosophy. This is not blasphemy. That is absolutely pathetic. But this is going on in this society of devotees. So many people confused to no end. So Venkat, please, let's go ahead and hear the Jaya Radha Madhava prayers, and then we'll have our wonderful class with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Hari Hari Bol.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Samaja Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridhavan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
That was gorgeous. Thank you very much, Vinkat. Love that. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tatu Jayam Mudirayet. Tatu Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself, Prabhupada describes, this is from Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 43. Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 43. Krishna Svadhama Pogate Dharmajnana Dibhisaha Kalunashta Drishamesha Puranarku Adhunodita. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun. It has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age, in the age of Kali, shall get light from this Purana. Śrīla Prabhupada in his purport describes the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna appeared before us just a little prior to the beginning of Kali Yuga, and he returned to his eternal home practically at the commencement of Kali Yuga. While he was present, he exhibited everything by his different activities. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita specifically and eradicated all pretentious principles of religiosity. And prior to his departure from this material world, he empowered Śrīla Vyasadeva through Narada to compile the messages of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And thus, both the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are like torch bearers for the blind people of this age. In other words, if men in this age of Kali want to see the real light of life, they must take to these two books only, and their aim of life will be fulfilled. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the summum bonum of life. Lord Sri Krishna personified. We must therefore accept Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the direct representation of Lord Krishna. One who can see Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam can see also Lord Sri Krishna in person. They are identical. Again, this is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 43. So we will do our reading today. I believe we're on Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text number 12. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Sutta janasi badramte bhagavan sattvatam patihi devakyam vasudevasya jatu yasya chikirshayam. Sutta, O Sutta Goswami, janasi, you know, badramte, all blessings upon you, sattvatam, of the pure devotees, patihi, protector, devakyam, in the room of Devaki, vasudevasya, by Vasudev, jatu, born of, yasya, for the purpose of, chikirashaya, executing. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. O Sutta Goswami, all blessings upon you. You know as to for what purpose the personality of Godhead appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudev. Purport by His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda. Bhagavan means the Almighty God, who is the controller of all opulences, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. And He is the protector of His pure devotees. God is equal to one and all, but He is especially inclined to His devotees. Sat means the absolute truth. And persons who are servitors of the absolute truth are called sattvatas. And the personality of Godhead, who protects such pure devotees, is known as the protector of the sattvatas. Badram too, or blessings upon you, is sign of anxiousness for knowing the truth from the speaker. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared in the presence of Devaki, the wife of Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the symbol of transcendental position, wherein the appearance of the Supreme Lord takes place. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Miritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prasantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shwanyavadi Pasyatyadeshatarine Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshatah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama, Hari Hari. So this is a very important verse. We see in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam how the assembly of the sages at Naimisharanya in North India, they're asking very important questions. They were very anxious to hear from Sutta Goswami about the position of Lord Krishna. Why did he appear? What was the real purpose? We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself explains, Yada yada hi dharmasya dlanira bhavati bharata, abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham, paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chadushkritam, dharma samstarpatanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Lord Krishna describes that he appears to reestablish dharma samstapa, to establish the principles of religion. But somebody may ask, well, what else has he come for? But Krishna explains, paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the pious, the sadhu. Vinashaya chadushkritam, those who are demons against the authority of God, he comes to clear them out. Now, Krishna, during his manifested presence, did that in so many ways. First point he did is Kamsa, the ruling king of Mathura, the demon king who harassed so many saintly persons and caused so much trouble. Krishna took care of him. We see even today, people can visit the birthplace of Lord Krishna in Mathura and see the actual place where Devaki and Vasudev gave birth to Lord Krishna. There's an actual, they were kept in prison by Kamsa, and there's an actual spot where people can see the presence, the exact spot where Lord Krishna was born. Now, sometimes people say that these Hindus and these people from India, this is all mythology. These are all stories, but there's no historical record. We're sorry to inform you, but there is historical record. The actual place where Krishna was born, the actual place where the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, the actual place where the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was spoken by Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, and Maharaj Parikshit, the presiding king of India at that time, of Bharat Bhumi. It's a place called Shukratal in North India. Actually, in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself, Prabhupada mentions that this recitation of Bhagavatam took place on the banks of the Yamuna River. But there are many great personalities in our Sampradaya who have pointed out there's a place north of Meerut. Meerut is where Hastinapur used to be. Now, the current city of Delhi used to be the capital of the Pandavas, called Indraprastha. There's a big fort called Purana Kila with massive walls. That used to be the wall that we actually have, that people can see. That was the palace, the big wall of the where the palace of the Pandavas was. And Meerut, a little bit north, it was on the bank of the Ganges. And very close to Meerut, there's a place called Shukratal where the Bhagavatam was spoken. There was actually a tree, a big banyan tree that people can see where Shukadev Goswami sat. And all the great sages sat there and listened to the recitation of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for 7 days, where Shukadev delivered the Bhagavatam message to Maharaj Parikshit. So it is not mythology. It is actually factology. It is a fact. Atheistic persons, agnostics, persons who have no connection with the bona fide disciplic succession will say, oh, this is all mythology. the great Acharyas, including Vyasadeva, Shukadev Goswami, Ramanuja, Madhva, Nimbarka, Vishnu Swami, Vallabhacharya, our Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they've all spent their lifetimes making commentaries on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, discussing all of these various scriptures. In the most recent past, we've had Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our Śrīla Prabhupāda, who've all written explanations, commentaries, purports on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Where's the question of mythology? It is a fact. It is there. But why was this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam spoken? Just like we read from the first canto, the third chapter, this is very important because Prabhupada explains also in that verse, when he descends on the material world, he displays himself with all paraphernalia in his internal potency, which is called Atma Maya. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he descends by his own potency, Atma Maya, his form, name, fame, paraphernalia, abode, etc., are not therefore creations of matter. He descends to reclaim the fallen souls and to reestablish codes of religion which are directly enacted by him. So this is a very important point. Krishna comes, he describes in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkram dharma samstapanartaya. That I come again and again, sambhavami yuge yuge, in different ages, different millennium after millennium, to reestablish the principles. Now, sometimes, Prabhupada explains in an introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes he sends great acharyas, great preachers, great empowered personalities to deliver that message. Krishna can send what's called Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha means eternally liberated souls from the spiritual world to come here and deliver the message. And this is not limited only to India. Prabhupada explains that sometimes certain Shakti Avesha avatars, the Sanskrit word avatar means one who descends. Shakti means special power. Avesha means one who is empowered with that special power. Prabhupada explained that Jesus Christ, Hazrat Muhammad, and other great powerful personalities, great acharyas and teachers and prophets, they come to deliver that message, to bring people back to the kingdom of God. Not to entice people to stay in this material world, try to enjoy here, but to come back to their original position in the spiritual world. So here we see that Sutta Goswami is giving the answer. Krishna, Prabhupada explains, Sat means the absolute truth. And persons who are servitors of the absolute truth are called sattvatas. In a Sanskrit text, it says, Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi, that Krishna protects the pure devotees. He's known as the protector of the sattvatas. So this is a very important point because sometimes devotees ask, well, there seems to be so many disturbances in the world. There seems to be so many natural calamities, earthquakes, volcanoes, extreme cold, extreme heat, wars, pestilence, famine, so many disturbances. Why is this taking place? Prabhupada has explained in various places that this is the nature of the material world. This is a place of suffering. Even in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna described Dukkalayam Asasvatam. This material world is Dukkalayam Asasvatam. Just like sometimes people ask, well, why did God create that? Well, Prabhupada explained one time, why did the government create the prison house or the jailhouse? Why? They have to spend so much money, so much energy, pay so much salary for guards and wardens and everything. Why? Because there will always be a class of men that will disobey the law. So this material world, for those who have chosen to disobey the law of God, this is the position in this material world. It is a place of suffering, and it is temporary. Nobody can live here forever. No matter how intelligent, how wealthy, how beautiful, how strong, it doesn't matter. According to one's good karma or one's good activities in the past, in this life, one may have so much wealth, so much good auspicious position, but you cannot live forever. That is the real problem. Just like somebody recently sent me a video. They were talking about some society, Mensa society, considered for very highly intelligent people. Now, how does the Bhagavad Gita describe what is an intelligent person? We see in the later chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna described Janmamrichu Jaravyadi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam. Anudarshanam means the ability to see and comprehend dukkha dosha, the misery and fault of birth, death, old age, and disease. This is the problem. This is the foremost problem. And no one, whether it's from Brahmaloka in the upper part of the universe or the smallest ant, everybody is subjected to these four miseries. And this human form of life is meant to solve that problem. How do we do that? By taking shelter of God's instruction, of Krishna's instruction. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. One should offer his respects to God, offer his service to Krishna. Everything should be done for the satisfaction of Krishna. This is not very complicated. It's very simple. But somebody may say, well, how do we know how to do that? That may be complicated in itself because we have so many responsibilities. We have to work, we have family, we have duties to society. Okay. That is why great acharyas like Śrīla Prabhupāda come to this world and show by practical example how to come back home, back to Godhead. And that's why we keep explaining this point, just like Vishwakarma Prabhu explained about the Vani incarnation. Vani means the message, the teaching. Prabhupada's teachings and instructions are given to give every person a chance to go back to Godhead. And that's why we have this class and discussion. I like the term class and discussion because it gives us a chance to hear the message, the sacred message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and engage our mind and our senses and gradually become purified and take shelter of the name of Krishna. So I'll cut short my discussion here. We'll have some question, comments, and remarks. Anybody? Hare Krishna. Vijay Pandit, you have a question? Your wife has a question?
I just was asking her if she have question. She is leading,
Good.
but she don't have question. She told me she is shy.
No, she hears something once, she understands everything. Very nice.
Yes.
Very good.
She's a little shy. That's it.
No, she is very good. She hears attentively. She remembers everything. Very good. Anybody else has question or remarks or comments? We can go on to the next verse. It's not very long. Text number 13. Tanna shushramananam arahasi anganubarnitam yasyavatara bhutanam shemaya cha bhavaya cha tat those na unto us shushurushamanam those who are endeavoring for arahasi ought to do it anga Osuta Goswami anuvarnitum to explain by following the footprints of previous acharyas yasya whose avataram incarnation bhutanam of the living beings kshemaya for good bhavaya upliftment cha and translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. O Suta Goswami, you want to explain us who are endeavoring for knowing it eagerly the topic of about the personality of Godhead and his incarnations as they were done by the previous acharyas. Because such description and hearing both are for the good and upliftment of the living being. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. The conditions for hearing the transcendental message of the absolute truth is fulfilled herewith. The first condition is that the audience must be very sincere and eager for hearing, and the speaker must be in the line of disciplic succession from the recognized acharya. The transcendental message of the absolute is not understandable by materially absorbed instrument of the senses. They are gradually purified under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, one must be in the chain of disciplic succession and learn the spiritual art of submissive hearing. In this context of dealings between Suta Goswami and the sages of the Naimisharanya, all the conditions are fulfilled because Śrīla Suta Goswami is in the line of Śrīla Vyasadeva, and the sages of the Naimisharanya are all sincere audience to get it from the line of Acharya. As such, the transcendental topics on the subject matter of Lord Sri Krishna's superhuman activities, his incarnation, his birth, appearance or disappearance, his forms, his name, etc., are all easily understandable on fulfilling the above conditions. And such transactions of hearing and speaking help all men in spiritual realization, which is all around good for everyone's upliftment. So here we see that Prabhupada mentions again this point. Prabhupada says, one must be in the chain of disciplic succession and learn the spiritual art of submissive hearing. So this is the whole issue of hearing and reading these books of Śrīla Prabhupada and chanting the Maha Mantra. Prabhupada describes in the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita are the various books which he has written and commented upon, like Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that these books are sufficient, along with his other books, are sufficient for the practice, cultivation, and preaching of Krishna consciousness. So this is a very important point. This word, submissive hearing, one has to learn the spiritual art of submissive hearing. This is done by controlling the senses, following the various principles prescribed by the Acharya, chanting and dedicating sometime every single day to hear Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. In the Bhagavatam itself, it is described, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, that one should engage continuously in hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and serving the person Bhagavat. So this is a very important point. Yes, Mataji, Andabahya, please. Hare Krishna. We cannot hear you.
Would you please explain to us what is the bona fide line of disciplic succession?
That is the line, as far as we are concerned, from Śrīla Prabhupada, as he has described in Bhagavad Gita. The message, the transcendental message, has come down through disciplic succession. Sometimes there is a misunderstanding amongst some neophytes or persons with a poor fund of knowledge that disciplic succession means a succession of warm bodies, a succession of unbroken succession of warm bodies. But this is not how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and our Śrīla Prabhupada have described. The disciplic succession is that disciplic succession of the great Mahabhagavatas, the topmost Mahabhagavatas, who have delivered that message unbroken, unspoiled, unchanged. Prabhupada gave the example, just like in India, they have during the mango season. Now, when you pick a mango, you want to make sure that it's not going to be bruised. If the mango is bruised, it is spoiled. It will spoil quickly. So a person will go on the top of the tree, will pass down the mango very carefully, very gently, so it does not become spoiled. It does not become bruised. So the teachings of the disciplic succession have come down to this particular line from Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or Śrīla Prabhupada. That is the meaning of disciplic succession, the proper understanding of the disciplic succession. That is why Śrīla Prabhupada has given so many instructions with regard to not changing the message, not adulterating the message. So I hope this helps. There's a lot that we can discuss upon that at other times, but essentially that's what that means. Yes, Jiva Goswami Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Jiva Goswami Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yes, just before this comment about submissive hearing, in the purport it says, one becomes gradually purified under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. So I want to understand more clearly how one becomes gradually purified and what are the signs that one is becoming gradually purified.
This is given several times by Śrīla Prabhupada in his books, where he quotes from Rupa Goswami, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sango, which is basically the process, the systematic process of devotional service. In other words, there's a process of associating with devotees, Ado Shraddha, having some faith, Tato Sadhu Sangha, associating with devotees, accepting the spiritual master, practicing devotional service, the anartha nivriti, becoming purified from unwanted habits. I mean, the beginning, the reason why we have these various regulative principles, such as no illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating, and no mental speculation, all of these things, the reason we follow that is to purify the senses, so one will be fit to receive the message properly. And what the symptoms that one is making advancement is one becomes gradually free from that burning anxiety to try to enjoy the material world. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes in the 18th chapter, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakankshati. We see in the material world out there how everybody is constantly hankering for sense gratification and kankshati. Sochati, they're lamenting and they're hankering constantly. So as one advances in devotional service, this burning desire in the heart to enjoy the material world will diminish and gradually disappear. This is the symptom of advancement. in the process of bhakti. There's a lot of other characteristics explained in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, but primarily, this is how Krishna explains it. Na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu. And when one is free from this constant hankering and lamentation, Krishna says, then one can see all living beings as being part of Krishna. Mad bhaktim labhati para. Then one can achieve that bhakti, that unalloyed devotion. There's a systematic process, and the symptoms are also given there. So I hope that helps.
Thank you very much.
Vishwakarma. Yes, Vishwakarma Prabhu, you had your hand up.
Thank you. I wanted to comment on yoga systems, because generally when you tell people that you study yoga, they think that you do exercises, that you're practicing stretching and breathing exercises. And in this way, you're becoming healthy. The Bhakti Yoga system is actually the recommended process in this particular time and place for becoming spiritually advanced. First of all, they don't understand, Prabhu, that yoga means to link with God. That's the first basic principle, to link with God. Now the question is how to do it in the Kali Yuga. And here Prabhupada is beautifully explaining the process of enlightenment, how you become enlightened. And in other words, control of the senses is part of the development of a person's character. In other words, people think that if they do these different yoga systems, they'll be able to develop some kind of mental strength. But our mental strength becomes developed in Krishna Consciousness Jiva Goswami through the following the four regulated principles. In other words, we're animals. It's called the human species. There are 8,400,000 different species. So when you look at yourself, remember you're a species. Now, what kind of species are we? Well, if we don't follow the four regulated principles, we're no better than animals. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex life, and no gambling. So this is the beginning of yoga. You agree to follow these principles. This is a pre-qualification for hearing properly. Because a person that's on the animal platform, they can't listen. They're too busy trying to enjoy this material world. They're too busy trying to present themselves as something beyond a sophisticated cat or dog. That's what we have in this society. We're born in a culture where people are nothing but sophisticated animals. So Prabhupada came from India, and it's so beautiful to read these Bhagavatams. Think about it. When was this book written, Jiva Goswami? I'll give the answer so you don't have to turn your speaker on. 1962. This was pre his trip to America. So he's writing this truth of understanding prior to even the formation of the Krishna Consciousness movement. So he's saying here in the purport, very profound statement, the conditions for hearing the transcendental message of the absolute truth is fulfilled herewith. The first condition is that the audience must be very sincere. What does sincerity mean? Must be very sincere. Well, they have to be prepared to rise above the animal platform of life, to have some kind of attitude to hear of the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I know that some of us here and are professional people, and the way that they become registered as, say, for example, a doctor, is that they have to listen. You have to be a good listener in order to be a good performer. In playing music, it's the same. You have to have an astute ear. You have to know how to play in time. You have to know how to sing in key. Now, the way you do it is you're listening very, very carefully to the meter. You're listening very carefully to the pitch. So it's all based, and you're listening to the other people that are performing with you. If you're in a musical group, you've got to be astute to listen. So hearing, Jiva Goswami, is the basis of understanding. Now, in this particular case, we're talking about hearing the transcendental messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which are vital for understanding the purpose of human life. There is no other way. There is no other way than through hearing. Of all the senses that we possess, the eyes, look, glasses. Well, some of us are wearing glasses. You know, recently I had cataract operation. I lost the ability to see. I couldn't see. It was a great problem for me because I think all of you know I've been reading constantly for the last so many years. And then all of a sudden I was cut off. I couldn't read anymore. Now, basically with the eyes you're seeing, but really you're hearing the spiritual master speak to you through his books. So hearing of all the senses is the most important sense for elevating oneself out of the condition of this material body, which is nothing but bile, stool, urine, and pus. That's what this body is. If anybody thinks it's more than that, they're in Maya. That is illusion. You know, we all suffer from this illusion. But the more we undergo the miseries of living in this body, the more we see how terrible the condition of the conditioned of the conditioned soul is in this species. This is a species of life. Instead of the dog going out on the lawn and you pick up the stool in a bag and you put it in the garbage. That's the rule. I have an interesting story. I hope I don't lose my track. I was on a morning walk with Śrīla Prabhupāda in Toronto. We were in I took Prabhupada in different sections of the city because I wanted him to bless the city of Toronto. So, you know, wherever the lotus feet, wherever the pure devotee walks, that becomes all auspicious. So I had taken him to the Parliament buildings, I took him to the beaches, and then one day we went to Don Valley Parkway. And there was a large group of us on the walk. I let everybody come on the walk if they provided their own ride. So much different than when you were in India, you were handpicked. Oh, you can go on the walk, you can't. You can go on the walk, you can't. Here in Toronto, I said, okay. I exercised my presidential power and said, everybody can come on the walk. It's just a matter of get your own ride because we couldn't supply the ride. So anyway, we're walking down the parkway underneath the bridge. And there was a sign. Now, they just put these signs up, Jiva Goswami. Stoop and scoop. No, we'd never seen them before. They were, that was a new thing. In other words, they were finally introducing this rule that if you take your dog for a walk, like in India, I don't believe, Venkat could tell me, they have those signs, stoop and scoop, where if the dog passes stool, you have to pick it up and put it in a bag and then carry it and then walk along. You see the people walking around when you go on your walk here in the city, everybody's walking a dog and then they're carrying dog stool. So Prabhupada looked at us. He stopped, he took his cane and he pointed at the sign. He goes, stoop and scoop. He goes, this is the difference between us and them. And we all laughed. It was so hilarious. Prabhupada had a tremendous sense of humor. Very, very, I've been looking at a lot of pictures of Prabhupada recently, like all of us online, and you see Prabhupada, his dispositions. Some people, they look at, Prabhupada looks so serious. He's got of course we're serious at a certain level, but most of the time Prabhupada looked like he was in bliss, seeing the Krishna Consciousness movement unfold in front of him with all of his white dancing elephants. That's how he described us. So Prabhupada, on this walk, he had a tremendous sense of humor. So this is the difference. They worship dog and we worship God. Not G-O-D, but D-O-G. Everybody was so blissed out by Prabhupada's words, which everybody hung on to like treasures of diamonds. So we should know that unless we are following this process that he is training us in carefully, we're nothing but animals. That's the point. No different than the dog. And instead of the dog passing in the lawn, well, in India, as you know, I mean, the people there, I haven't been to India since 1985. But back in the 70s, when you had to go to the washroom, it was very interesting. I wasn't used to that because, we're trained in the Western world where you use the toilet and water. But back in India, in those days, in 73, 74, you took a loda, bought a loda. I've never seen that before. You took a loda and you went into the bush and you would, like the animal, pass the stool and then wash your hand off, and then you're back to being so-called human. People don't want to think this. They want to think they're more than this. They're false ego. For example, people get money. What do they think? Oh, look at me. I've got so much money. Look at how powerful I am. Look at how much influence I have. Look at how much control I have over what I'm doing, because I don't have to ask anybody for money. People that have no money, they're always subservient to others that have money. But a person that has money, they feel they've got this independence, this false ego. that feeds them. But the fact of the matter is, they may sit in a sophisticated restaurant. They can enjoy a beautiful atmosphere with music and candlelight and service, hand service from people because they've got money. And then they bring them their food and it's nothing but a piece of liver or a piece of chicken. Here, Prabhupada had explained to us, this is nothing but sophisticated animal life. That's what this is about. So the yoga process is the system for rising above the animal. And you do that by following the 4 regulated principles. No intoxications, no illicit sex life, no meat eating, no gambling. And then you take up the system of bhakti yoga, which is hearing Jiva Goswami. You listen. And Prabhupada qualifies it here in this verse so beautifully. The transcendental message of the Absolute is not understood by materially absorbed instruments of the senses. Materially absorbed. They are gradually purified under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, one must be in the chain of disciplic succession and learn the spiritual art of submissive hearing. It's an art. That's what we are. We're internalizing what we're learning and we practice it. That's a very important point. I just got a Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. I just got a message from a guy named Sharma, Robin Sharma. And he wrote a book called The Monk Who... And he is a famous public speaker. You can look him up online. He's from Toronto. He used to be a lawyer, and he started to take up spiritual life, and he wrote some kind of book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Now, coincidentally, at the time, years ago in the 90s, when I was a grihasta, maintaining a family, I was working at a BMW dealership selling expensive cars. You know, I'd learned to sell by Sankirtan and other activities, so I was using my talents, but Prabhupada had trained me up in Sankirtan to sell these $50,000, $100,000 cars. And anyway, this Robin Sharma came in to the dealership and I got him as a customer. I sold him his BMW. He had sold, the monk who sold his Ferrari came and bought a BMW for myself. So I just recently got a message from him. He's promoting himself, and he was explaining that real success in life means that you internalize what you do, you practice what you do, and because you do that, you become recognized by other people that do not do things that you do. So in our particular case, we follow in the footsteps of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. He set the perfect example of how to be a pure devotee. So devotee means when you chant your rounds, you listen to the sound. That's how you become renounced. You listen. Nobody is around. Who's around when you chant? Jiva Goswami. Who is around? You are. What's your job? Listen to the sound. That's how you become successful in life. You do what you learn from your spiritual teachers in this particular case, and then by that, you become advanced in Krishna consciousness. This is a personal method for each one of us to become potent If there's no potency, then there will be no opportunity for us to convince others to become Krishna conscious. Therefore, one must, Prabhupada says here, in this context, the dealings between Sutta Goswami and the sages of the Naimisharanya, all the conditions are fulfilled because Srila Sutta Goswami is in the line, it's italicized here, is in the line of Srila Vyasadeva and the sages of the Naimisharanya are all sincere audience to get it from the line of the Acharya. So this is the idea, is there are conditions behind making advancement, but it's up to the individual person to rise up out of this state of confusion that we are currently in this temporary life. Yaśodā-nandana, please.
These are very important points because what we see in the current context of many devotees trying to practice spiritual life is many of them are under the mistaken impression that unless they have a physically present person with them at all times, they won't be able to make progress. But as we saw last week, from that quote from the third canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, where Prabhupada explains that one has to study the process of spiritual life, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, logically by hearing from authorities. The whole process is hearing from authorities. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami gives 9 examples for each one of the principles of the Bhakti Yoga process. And the process of hearing and chanting, he gives the example of Maharaj Parikshit, who heard the Bhagavatam, and Shukadeva Goswami, who spoke the Bhagavatam. That these were the perfect examples for the practitioners, as this is the perfect example of how we can perfect our life. Because this is very important. The Bhagavatam is 18,000 verses. It deals with hundreds of subjects. Everything is explained, the creation, the manifestation of the world, higher planets, what happens to the soul, what Krishna's activities, Krishna's pastimes, everything is given. It's why it's called the science of God. It's a scientific explanation of what is the living entity, how does the living entity become free from miseries in the material world, how does the living entity goes back to the spiritual world, what is the spiritual world, who is God? What are his activities? What does he do? So everything is given there, but that requires submissive oral reception. Not complicated, not difficult. Anybody can do that. I believe one devotee from Mayapur, Gauramani, had his hand up. We'll give him before we finish. Please go ahead, Gauramani. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My respectful obeisances. And thank you for the wonderful class.
Come va? Come va?
Everything all right, thank you. Tutto bene, tutto bene. Yes, I understood the point that we have to hear with submissive mood. But at the same time, I would like to understand well, if you can make it clear this point, because Śrīla Prabhupāda said that we have not to wait to be perfect to preach. So, I mean that, but at the same time, he said that we have not to hear from people that is not qualified to preach, because the Bhagavatam has not effect because it's touched by the tongue, like he bring the example of the milk touched by the tongue of the serpent that become spoiled. So can you make it clear this point? Who is the right preacher that we can hear, and the one that is better to avoid? Because there's no a good effect, even if someone has the right submission in hearing.
In 1969, in London, Śrīla Prabhupada lived with John Lennon and Yoko Ono in their mansion. And one of the questions that was brought up is, well, how do we know who is the bona fide guru? So Prabhupada requested one of his disciples to explain. And the disciples said that find out that person who is the most addicted to Krishna. And Prabhupada was very happy with that answer. So in the current context, you have to find out who are these persons who are most faithfully following and are addicted to hear from Śrīla Prabhupada without adulteration, without concoction, without manufacturing bogus ideas. That is the first point. Now, I'm sure that there's a wide variety of opinions, and various people in the movement will say different things about this. But the point is, Prabhupada, His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupada, is the foremost authority. That is the first point. If anybody thinks that they can change, adulterate, or embellish Prabhupada's books with this nonsense philosophy of post-Prabhupada books era that has been invented by some Swami or so-called Swami from New Zealand, that is ridiculous. Prabhupada is present now, just like Krishna is present in the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīla Prabhupada is present in the pages of his book and his comments and his purports. That is the first point. Unless somebody understands and accepts this point, there will be failure. Yes, you have another question? Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, so I know the propensity to hear those that I know that they are deviating. You know what I mean? If I know, yes.
I'd like to give an answer. I'd like to give an answer
Go ahead.
to you.
Go ahead, Vishwakarma.
Prabhu, by the way, that's a very good question. I'm very pleased that you posed that question to the group. And for me, recently, I've been listening to other God brothers speak, taking the time to review what they're doing as preachers, because there's some success in their work. For example, I was listening to Bhaktivedanta speak on wearing a face mask. He gave an hour talk on it, on the benefits of wearing a face mask. Now, he's an ISKCON guru. Now, generally, when you hear someone speak, you're looking for some understanding about Krishna. You're looking for an understanding that comes from the lips of the pure devotee, not somebody that's just talking off the top of his mind about the benefits of a face mask for an hour. So rather than get into all of the people that I've been listening to see where they're at, you have to look at their motive. What is the reason why they're preaching? Is it for giving people an understanding of who Prabhupada is, what our process is, who Krishna is, and how you can go back to Godhead by chanting Hare Krishna? Or is it about them recruiting you as a disciple? Because people that are ill-motivated are in this process for the business of a guru. Now, someone naive or just plain stupid doesn't see it. They can't see it. So the person speaking in circles, like for example, there's a dispute in the world about vaccination. There's a dispute. In other words, some people are saying you have to take the vaccination in order to hopefully prevent the disease of the flu. It's been proven that it doesn't work, but because lots of people take the vaccination and they still get the flu. Vaccination generally means you're prevented, like polio. You don't get polio if you get vaccinated. In this particular world, nowadays, if you take the vaccination, like our prime minister here in Canada, he took the vaccination, he got COVID twice. He's taken 5 shots. And then there's all kinds of side effects from it. Okay. This isn't a discussion about vaccination. This is a discussion about how a guru, so-called, should speak. So here we have a fellow in America, Hare Krishna. So I'm watching a video of him. Okay, is it our business to give people advice? Should you take a vaccination? Shouldn't you take a vaccination? As a guru, his job is to explain how to protect yourself from the cycle of birth and death by taking shelter of the pure devotee and Krishna. That's his business. Here's what he says. He goes, he's speaking on the microphone in a class that he's giving. He goes, you should take the needle and go around and stick the vaccination in all your god brothers and god sisters. This is guru? What are you talking about? So use your discretion. I see this Bhaktivedanta character who resides in Mayapur. Now, he walks around in these fancy clothes. He talks about Prabhupada's pastimes because he was an intimate disciple of Prabhupada for some time, so-called. But after Prabhupada's demise, he was the first one to tell Drupada to take the money out of the fund for the Krishna Balaram deities in Vrindavan and use it to build 11 Vyasasans so these Ritvik priests could take the role of Diksha Guru. Do we want to listen to this person? Do I want to listen to him? Not interested. If you can't see it, you're blind. These people are saying we're blaspheming them. We're fact-finding people. We see the truth. If you don't like it, go worship Radhanath. Go ahead. Go worship Shivaram. Go worship any of these people. That's your business. You have a right to choose what you want to do. But in this group, we're smart enough to know the difference between a real guru and a cheater. And we know that Prabhupada lives in his Vani incarnation. So I hope that. Go ahead, Prabhu. Speak.
I asked this for the fact that I know that when someone see a Vaishnava and he would like to not see him is an offense. No. And for the fact that in a way or another they are engaged in
devotional service,
if we can say like this. No, I'm a little worried that I'm not committing offense because I have a real rejection to hear from them.
This is Prabhu. This is the compromised position that most people are in. Like this person that's also in Mayapur last night. she says to me, oh, well, this is blasphemy. I go, blasphemy? That we're saying that Prabhupada is the pure devotee, he lives in the Vani incarnation, and we're taking shelter of him, and we're guiding other people to his lotus feet and not to ours? That's blasphemy? That's ridiculous. Who's offensive? You are. We cannot be, this is facts. These are facts. Look at this Vijayapurna fellow that was in Mayapur. It's come out, there's a huge scandal on him. Now, what are we supposed to say? Oh, it's not true? Oh, we shouldn't say anything? Because we're senior devotees. If we're telling you something, you listen. If you don't want to listen, go away. We know the difference. You know, we've been through the world, the ISKCON world of confusion and offenses and fall downs and thievery. Prabhu, there are hundreds of thousands of examples of problems that these people have caused in Prabhupada's mission. There's not one. There's thousands of them. All you have to do if you want to go and study that is you can study that forever. All the fall downs, all the child molestation, all the robberies, all the thievery, all the business of the guru. That's not our business here. We're finished with that. So, you know, if you have to be in a compromised position there, in a sense, because you're there, you can't come out and start speaking like this. You might get killed. That happened to Sulochan. He spoke up against the guru business and they killed him. That's the fact. So this Krishna consciousness movement is a forest of confusion. And you have to be smart enough to follow through the path carefully and not get, hurt by the process. Is there any we're at the end of the class. I'm sorry we went so long. Very good question. Very interesting.
Thank you very
discussion.
much.
Sorry,
Thank you very much.
You just stay on steady. Just keep going to the Ganges River and taking bath there in the Jalangi and go to the Holy Lands and be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya and take his mercy. And then hopefully you can go back to Italy and work with your godbrother there and help him to help the people in Italy become Krishna conscious. Just like I'm in Canada here for 53 years in the same spot. Prabhupada Desha, you preach where you live. You take care of the people where you're from. The people in India, they're already Krishna conscious at a certain level. So.
We had a question from Vijay Pandit Prabhu.
Yes, Vijay Pandit, please. One more and then we'll have our kirtan.
Well, if there is time.
Yes, go ahead. Of course there's time.
Yeah. What about those devotees, those disciples of Śrīla Prabhupada, that are still in the ISKCON community, but they don't have any power inside the community. They're just trying to serve the Krishna conscious movement as Śrīla Prabhupada, they think, taught us. And so what about them? They are still licking the can of honey from outside and thinking and believing that one day staying and be trust in the ISKCON, one day the truth will come out. We have to save the ISKCON. We don't have to go out from ISKCON, even if we know the evil things that happened in the movement. So what about them?
Okay, let me, I'm sorry for dominating the talk here, but.
Oh, it's okay.
I am in contact with a few devotees in Vrindavan, okay? And they are part of the ISKCON world. In other words, they're there serving. Even example of this lady yesterday, she's saying she's in Mayapur. Oh, we're distributing all this prasadam. We're distributing books. And in Vrindavan, we have all these people coming. These devotees are there. And I've tried to talk to them about it. One of them was a former servant of Śrīla Prabhupāda, and he lives in Vrindavan because he believes that he's there in Vrindavan, and that's the most sacred place in the world, and this is the way, if he carries on there serving, he'll go back to home, back to Godhead when he dies. He lives, he does not accept the administration, the management there in his heart. I know that. But why is he there? Because he has a place to live. He has a place to eat. He doesn't have to worry about his subsistence. He's recognized as a leader because of his connection to Prabhupada. He can speak about Prabhupada. He speaks very nicely about Prabhupada. And in this way, they give him money. They give him food. They give him accommodation. They give him air tickets. He can travel around. He can do anything he wants. So does he want to give up his job? How many people do you know want to give up their job? If you don't have a job, you can't live. This is called compromised. They're compromised. And they rationalize this compromised position because that's how they survive. If you're not depending on Krishna and Prabhupada as your guru and knowing he'll protect you, you won't stay there. And besides that, you know what bothers me more than anything? These are Americans. They're Americans staying in India, hiding in India, when they should be in America preaching the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. How many devotees are there? There are hardly any. Look, here in Hamilton, there's hardly anybody that's a devotee here. Should I get up and just leave? Oh, there are no devotees. I think I'll go. I can go. I don't have to stay here. I don't need it. Krishna has arranged my life that I'm free to go and do whatever I want. But I stay here because it's a matter of duty, brother. This is a duty, just like you're in Italy. You're in Italy, you stay there. You present Krishna consciousness to people there. Like you've said to me before, I'm in Italy. Most of the people condemn me that are in the ISKCON movement because I don't follow their path. They're brainwashed. That's what it is. The Ted Patricks of the world, they accused us of being brainwashed. We're not brainwashed. But these people in that group of guru disciples, they're a cult. That's what they are. They're cults. They're all different types of cults. And if people can't see it, they're blind. And we're not going to stop. That's basically it. We're not stopping. If you think that we're wrong, go away. Just go away. Go worship Radhanath. Go worship Gopal Krishna. Go build a samadhi tomb for Gopal. He's already bought the land. He's already bought the land. And we're running out of books. Yasoda-nanda was talking to me about that. What the heck's going on here? Gopal's riding around in a $100,000 van, custom made for him. Go into the boardroom. If you can't see it, you're blind. And why are you blind? Because you're compromised. I hope that answers your question. And I apologize for my intensity. I'm not really angry. It's the Irish in me.
Thank you so much. Haribol.
Just know you're right. So Prabhus, thank you again. I apologize. And Yasoda, one last comment from you, please. Your microphone. Microphone, please. No, your microphone.
We were discussing about this Bhagavad Gita, collected lectures on Bhagavad Gita. So I went online trying to get a set of those, and I'm finding out they're out of print. So there's plenty of money for their websites, their audio, their lectures, their propaganda, but there's no money for Prabhupada's collected lectures on the Bhagavad Gita or Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Something is wrong with that picture. This is exactly what Vishnu Prabhu is talking about. Something is wrong with that picture. The emphasis should be returned to Śrīla Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai.
Bo. Please
So
give
we
us
have
the
kirtan?
kirtan. Yes, we do. Venkat, our superstar.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha
Yascha
kripa sindhubhya eva
Eva
cha
Cha
patitanam
Avenibhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna,
Namo
Hare Krishna.
Namaha.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.